What's up, Niner fans? Welcome back for the second episode of our 49ers Mailbag. I'm your host, Rob Shue. Just wanted to do a little bit of self-critique on the first mailbag that went out there. I know that I tried to get it all in one shot, and part of me really wished that I had reshot the entirety of it, even if I stuck with that concept of trying to get it all in one take. I rewatched it and I felt like I was trying too hard to start it out. And then someone in the comments jumped in and said the exact same thing. And it rung true for me. And it's this odd phenomenon of talking into the camera instead of having a conversation with another person. I found it to be true in other areas when I have made recordings of myself for a profession in another side of life. And it just came through to me that it wasn't me on the camera. I was trying to put in energy. I was trying to keep it live. And yet there is a genuine energy that can come through, a genuine excitement. And then there's an over the top. And I thought I'd crossed that line. And so I'm particularly hard on myself. I am a perfectionist. Part of me wanted to not put that out. And I'm just glad that I've been inspired by other people I'm seeing on YouTube where there's not a obsessing with perfection. I think that the idea is to create content and create a connection with the viewer. And I think that being okay with imperfection is a part of that. So this is going to be an imperfect mailbag again. I probably won't go one take all the way through. What I think I'm going to try this time is one take per question. That way I'm not obsessed at the end. When you start recording and you get a good recording going, for me personally, it's funny that at the end there's a lot of pressure that builds up of like, oh, I haven't messed up this take yet. I haven't put in a flub. And so now I start to tighten up, right? It's like the end of a Super Bowl when you start to tighten up on your play calling because you don't want to mess up the take that you've spent all this time on. So I'm going to get over that, and we're just going to go one take per question. We're going to start out with our first question for the mailbag from Rohit. Rohit wrote, can the 49ers have 3,000-yard receivers in Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle? This was a great question, and certainly I'm tempted to preface it with if healthy. I'm going to stop saying that because I don't think we are going to be completely healthy. This is football. It's expected that there will be injuries. And I do think that the 49ers have a roster that is potentially more subject to injury based on some of those very physical players, some of the playing styles, some of the body types that have been drafted over the years. And I think that all three of the individuals listed here have the potential to miss some games this year. I think that we should all acknowledge that. Certainly the person throwing them the ball has had some issues staying healthy as well. So it's dependent on four people staying healthy. I predict in reality the majority of those four will stay healthy. So I think that three of those four will play the vast majority of the games. I'm just not confident that we'll get 4 out of 4. So my prediction here is actually having 2,000-yard receivers. I think Ayuk and Kittle end up being our 1,000-yard receivers. Brandon Ayuk is certainly a super talented individual who, had he played a full 16 last year, would have broken the 1,000-yard marker based on his statistics if you fold them out over the entirety of the year. Same thing is true for Kittle. Debo would have fallen just short. And the same is true for his 2019 season where he missed one game. Even if he had that additional game, unless it was a real significant number of yards that he gained, probably would have fallen short in that season as well. So I think that the odds are in our favor for 2 out of the 3 because I'm predicting that Jimmy has a good year. In my previous video, I predicted that he will play 16 out of 17 games. And people forget that in his healthy season for 2019, he put up pretty phenomenal numbers for a 49ers quarterback. Some of the best statistical numbers that we've had since Jeff Garcia, and that's a long time coming. So don't sleep on Jimmy G. Jimmy G's going to be healthy this year. That's my statement. That's my big time prediction. And I believe that 2 out of the 3 will remain mostly healthy. I'm predicting that that'll be Ayuk and Kittle. I worry about the soft tissue pulls for Debo. I want to believe that, and I am very hopeful that that will be the case. I'm just not counting on it. And so that's going to be the one where I throw it out there and say that potentially there's still are 3 or 4 games missed. And in that case, with a 12 or 13 game season, it'll be very difficult to hit that 1,000-yard marker. But all 3 of them are capable of it. It's certainly, if healthy, I got to stop saying that. But all 4, Garoppolo throwing the ball, and all 3 of the receivers are capable of getting us to that 3 1K club. All right, looking at that second mailbag question, we have it coming in from Ben Camperman of the Camper Report. Shout out to the Camper Report. If you don't follow, you should. That young gentleman is doing good things on his channel, showing up with Grant on the All 49ers Junior Roundtable. Phenomenal stuff, phenomenal stuff. Ben wrote in and asked what my thoughts are on whether the Falcons would have gotten an offer of a first-round pick from any of the other teams that were in on the Julio sweepstakes. And my answer here is pretty simple. I believe that the Falcons would have taken any offer that included a 1. I don't think they would have cared where it came from, whether it was the NFC. I don't even know that they would have minded if it were someone in the NFC South, if it were a first-round pick. I think that when you get a first-round pick in return for Julio, you can sell that to the fan base no matter who you have shipped him off to. I jest a little bit about the NFC South. That would be precarious at best. But certainly if the 49ers had a first-round pick and had offered a first-round pick, I believe he would be on the 49ers now. And I do believe that if either the Seahawks or the Rams had put in a first-round pick, that they would have accepted that. Now, let me say also, I believe that if the offers were equal, if the 49ers offered the same in draft picks, a second and then the next year's 4th, I do think that the Falcons obviously would prefer to ship Julio out of the conference, ship him to the Titans, get him out of the NFC, and not deal with that headache anymore. But I think even if you get into the 49ers offering perhaps a second rounder next year and then a third rounder the following year, so if they had beaten the offer basically by any nominal amount, I do think that Atlanta would have jumped at that. I think that draft capital coming back would have outweighed that fear of sending him within the conference. Because let's be honest, that the Falcons are probably a few steps away from true contention. And the 49ers, one could argue, it's a little up in the air as to whether we will continue to be in contention. So I don't know that Atlanta views the 49ers as the threat that those of us fans probably view the 49ers. They may see us a bit more middle of the pack with regard to the injuries that we've suffered through, with the uncertainty at the quarterback position as to whether Garoppolo is the long-term answer or whether we're going to have to switch to a rookie at some point. So I do think that had we been able to beat on any level that Titans offer and not ask for any of that salary to be absorbed by Atlanta, I do think Atlanta would have snatched that. So to me, the evidence suggests that the Titans offer was the best offer on the table. And I think that has a lot to do with not wanting to eat some of that $15 million salary themselves. The Titans coming in and saying, we'll take all of the salary and these 2 picks are coming your way was a pretty sweet deal. I don't imagine that many teams offered similar to that. I certainly don't think that many beat that offer. And again, I feel that if they had beat that offer, then Atlanta would have said yes. Certainly if it had been a first-round pick. Certainly. All right, third question coming in here. This one comes from Josh Mangold. Josh, shout out to you, man. One of my early followers. I dig you, buddy. Keep them coming in here. I got a bunch of your questions that I can come back to. I love it. I love the questions. I love the enthusiasm. And Josh asked, will the 49ers extend Fred Warner before the season starts? This is a valid question, certainly after you saw what happened with DeForest Buckner last year, which I thought was a mistake. I wanted to just say travesty there because that's how much I enjoy Buckner and thought he was an integral part of our team. From a strategic standpoint, though, if I take the fan out of it, if I take my emotion out of it, from a strategic standpoint, I understand what the 49ers were attempting to do with the Buckner trade. They got back significant capital. They were able to save money that they then applied to another player where they felt they were getting better value. And certainly, as evidenced by the contract that Buckner ended up signing with Indianapolis, it was a substantial figure. And the guaranteed money within the contract was substantial as well. So I don't blame 49ers fans for being skeptical as to whether we might do something similar with Fred Warner. I would be very concerned if we did. I think that it would send the absolute wrong message. I thought that we sent the wrong message by shipping Buckner out. But now you have Fred Warner, who is essentially the quarterback of the defense. You have a new defensive coordinator coming in with DeMeco Ryans. So do you want to take the most important piece of the defense as far as calling plays goes and ship him out and leave DeMeco without that quarterback to be his eyes on the field? That seems suspect to me. That seems like something you don't want to allow to happen. Now, you could say, great, well, we keep him around, but we don't pay him. We just let the contract go as it is. He's under contract. He's showing up to camp. Yes, but then that's not sending the right message to the locker room of this is a homegrown guy. This is a guy that we drafted, this regime drafted. He has grown by leaps and bounds within our defense, on our team. Has remade his body to a point to where he is a physical freak on the field to match what he has going on the intellectual side. To then allow someone like that to play on the tail end of his contract and not take care of him just doesn't create a locker room vibe that I think you want within the organization. You want players to feel like, if I am wanted within this organization and I excel within this organization, then this organization is going to reward me as a player. If that's not the case, what incentive do I have as a player to really put it all out there on the field? And if you expect Fred Warner to put it all out there on the field this year, then he better have some guaranteed money lined up, because otherwise he's putting all the risk on himself. The team needs to take that risk. They need to be forward with this one. They need to take care of Fred Warner. It's got to be a great contract. Fans love Fred Warner. He's lights out on the field. He's incredibly intelligent. Physically, he stayed healthy. To me, it would be baffling if we did not extend Fred Warner and if we didn't do it before the bulk of training camp arrives. I don't want that weighing on his mind. I want him flying around. I want him focused 100% on supporting DeMeco Ryans and implementing any wrinkles to this defense that we're going to be putting in this offseason. And I don't want to hear about it in press conferences. I don't want my focus to be taken away from the key elements of this offseason for some contract negotiation that we all know should get done, but hasn't for some reason. So, all that said, to answer your question, Josh, will the contract get done before the season starts? My answer is an emphatic hell yes. Hell yes. Well, it's time to pay the bills here at the Mailbag and throw it over to our sponsors. Folgers Instant Coffee. Hot brown liquid going down, hot brown liquid coming out. Folgers Instant Coffee Crystals. We're all about consistency. That's good stuff.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.